James Turner for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so I want to sound off on this whole Gervonta Davis Lomachenko situation because unlike a lot of people who may come on YouTube and make videos, I actually was covering that years ago when it happened. I was covering the whole situation with Tank and Loma years ago at 130 when people wanted to see them fight. You know, I'm talking like back in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, back in those days, right? So I got one thing about your boy BT, good old True School, is that I've got a long memory when it comes to this boxing stuff. I don't forget things that like are meaningful, in the sport. And really and truthfully, like, look, today I've seen a lot of people lashing out at Lomachenko. And full disclosure, I'm not a Lomachenko fanboy, nothing like that. But Lomachenko isn't going to try to fight Gervonta Davis because it's been stated by his manager, his esteemed manager, Egis Klimas, that basically he doesn't feel motivated to fight. And just so people understand, Lomachenko, this isn't something new. Like, this didn't come out of the blue. Anybody who paid attention to the build-up to the George Kambosos Jr. fight already knew that Lomachenko was done with boxing. He just wanted to beat George Kambosos Jr. so he could win the last world title for his dad and right some of the wrongs that had happened to him in the Devin Haney fight, because the consensus by most people is that he beat Devin Haney. The smaller, older man beat Devin Haney, and he wasn't awarded with the decision on the night, right? So he's went ahead, he beat George Kambosos Jr., and he's 37 years old. I mean, this guy had, before he turned pro, he had, almost 400 amateur fights, 397 if I'm not mistaken. He has, listen, you can say Lomachenko's overrated. I've even said it a couple of times, but you cannot deny that man's resume. He's fought, Gary Russell Jr., prime, Nicholas Walters, prime, Devin Haney, younger in his prime. And a whole host of fighters, and the list goes on and on and on. He's got a hell of a resume. When he does decide to hang it up, he's gonna have a place in Canastota, New York, in the International Box Hall of Fame, whether you like it or not. That's just the truth. As far as him not fighting Gervonta Davis now, I like it. I'm happy he's not fighting Gervonta Davis, because why should Gervonta Davis be rewarded for blatantly avoiding the fight at 130? I like Tank. I've really grown to love him the last 4 years as a fighter, just covering some of his fights and going to his media workouts. I got a lot of love for Tank Davis. I think he's great for what he brings to boxing. I think he's one of the most versatile, skillful knockout punchers in the sport today. And there's a reason why he's a box office ticket seller. There's no doubt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that part of his career in particular, that he had beaten Jose Pedraza in a star-making performance to become the IBF champion. And Lomachenko's name was buzzing a lot at that time. I remember he was beating up guys like Nicholas Walters and whatnot. And people wanted to see them fight back then. At that time, Gervonta Davis was very young. He was the youngest world champion in boxing. And look, if it was his team's prerogative to not fight Lomachenko at that time, that's cool. It would have been cool for 1 year, maybe 2 at max, but it wasn't 1 or 2 years at max. It was 4 years they did not fight. They basically told you guys in plain sight, we don't gotta rush. Lomachenko has to rush because he's old. We can take our time. So they took their time. They aged Lomachenko out, and Lomachenko is not, from the looks of it right now, is not going to be fighting Tank. So it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. But the positive of all this is the fact that, okay, now he's not fighting Lomachenko, which I think is great. You don't get rewarded with fighting an older, aging fighter. Okay, well, now how about this? Here's a crazy concept. Why don't Gervonta Davis, as skillful as he is, why don't he actually fight a young, prime, A-level, skillful fighter? Why don't he fight one of the guys that his name's been mentioned with for all these years? And that guy would be Shakur Stevenson. All right, we hear all these. We've heard it throughout the years. We've heard all these stories about what Gervonta Davis did in sparring and the back and forth on Twitter and this, that, and the third. Okay, if that's what happened, and if Shakur Stevenson's so easy to beat, I've heard Gervonta Davis say in interviews, Shakur Stevenson can't slip a punch. All the other stuff, he just moves backwards. Okay, well, if it's that simple, now that the old man Lomachenko is not going to fight you because he's just like disenchanted of boxing, I guess the negotiations, they said they were going smoothly a week ago. I guess they weren't going as smoothly as they were reported because they ain't fighting now. So why don't you go fight Shakur Stevenson, fourth quarter at the MGM Grand, give people a big time fight, and get people and show people, show the people that Gervonta Davis is who he says he is. Now, has Gervonta Davis proven that already? Yeah, he proved it against Ryan Garcia. But the naysayers, the detractors will say Ryan Garcia had a clause, and they'll throw salt on the wind. And let's be honest, even without the clause, a lot of people out there don't think Ryan Garcia is that good anyway, right? And he took steroids against Devin, so that win's been called into question, right? Frank Martin, these guys, Frank Martin, Mario Barrios, these guys are good little fighters, but they're not creme de la creme. They're not upper echelon. They're not those legacy defining fights that people are looking to see Gervonta Davis in. We want to see Tank in there with guys like Shakur Stevenson, the guys like Teofimo Lopez, the guys like even like Devin Haney once he gets back on track and gets back to winning ways. That whole, because for years we've heard about how T.O., Devin, Shakur, Tank, Ryan Garcia, these guys, the quote-unquote four kings, or however you want to call it, and they seldomly ever fight each other. Truth be told, Lomachenko was fighting more of the four kings than the four kings themselves. Lomachenko fought T.O. Lomachenko fought Devin. And it is what it is. So, look, Shakur Stevenson's now a free agent. He doesn't have the roadblock that PBC fighters like to use when they say, oh, it's Bob Arum, it's Top Rank's fault, the fight's not happening. Okay. He's not going to be with them anymore. So I don't give a damn where he goes. Now that Bob Arum is not in the picture, Shakur Stevenson should be fighting Gervonta Davis in the fourth quarter of the year. And it comes down to this. Gervonta Davis is not a young fighter anymore. We're not in 2016. We're not in 2017. We're not in 2018. We are in 2024. Gervonta Davis is about to be 30 years old. Gervonta Davis has been a professional now for what? We're talking almost 10 years, if not 10 years. It's time to put up or shut up. It's time to really validate to the highest level all that hype. Because look, we know Tank is good. We know Tank is a box office. We know he's creme de la creme as far as his skills. But what good is it to have all those skills, to have all that power, to be that box office if you're not fighting the top guys? Like, could you guys imagine if, let's just say hypothetically speaking, you imagine if these guys like Hagler. I know Sugar Leonard did do some, diva-like stuff back in the day. But, eventually he got down to business. He fought, Hagler, and they put on great fights. Gervonta Davis has yet to do that in his career against the other, top guys. Shakur Stevenson qualifies as a top guy. And style-wise, that's a great fight. You've got Gervonta Davis, the most versatile knockout puncher in the sport of boxing, who's got great boxing skills, who has an amazing boxing IQ, who's one of the smartest fighters in boxing, matched up against one of the hardest guys to hit in boxing, and another one of the smartest fighters in boxing. And I know right now Shakur Stevenson's stock is low. They say Shakur Stevenson is not that good, and he's boring to watch. Well, he's boring to watch because he's fighting, for lack of a better term, in comparison to what he brings to the table, he's fighting cans. He's fighting guys that are not on that level. Okay, so the only way you're going to get the best out of Shakur Stevenson is if you pair him up with somebody who's dangerous, who's skillful, who poses a threat. And Gervonta Davis checks those boxes. So, in conclusion, I'm just coming here to say this. If you're one of these people that have gotten online today and you've said, oh, when you heard Lomachenko saying that he's not going to fight Gervonta Davis next because he's not motivated or whatever he said, if your first statement, if your first inclination was Lomachenko is ducking Gervonta Davis, then congratulations. You don't know shit about boxing and you haven't been paying attention long enough, because Gervonta Davis told you guys in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019 that we're not in a rush to fight him. He's in a rush to fight us. And then while they did that, they Mayweather Promotions, in your guys' face, they disrespected the boxing fans. They disrespected the boxing public. Tank had the belt at 130, but was he fighting 30-pounders? No, he was not. He was fighting Hugo Ruiz, Jesus Cuellar, smaller guys, dragging them up in weight, knocking them out to create hype and buzz on Tank. That's the stone cold, harsh reality of what they were doing at that time. While they weren't fighting Lomachenko, while they were avoiding a Lomachenko unification fight, which would have been great at that time. So, look, there's some fights in boxing history that do have an expiration date, and sometimes things just aren't meant to be. Why should Lomachenko have to dance to the tune of Gervonta Davis? Why? Because he sells some tickets? Because he's box office? Listen, none of that shit matters. Lomachenko has money. He's been on the pound list. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's already fought Devin. He's already fought T.O. He's already fought a lot of guys. He's fought Nicholas Walters. He fought Gary Russell Jr. He fought, for a world title in the second pro fight. So my thing is, this guy's legacy cemented. And other than a payday and a potential, if he were to beat Tank, I think right now his legacy pretty much is what it's going to be. What it's going to be. He's going to go down as one of the best amateur boxers of all time. He's going to go down as one of the best professionals to scale weight classes in such a short amount of time and become champion in multiple weight classes. And a Gervonta Davis fight doesn't necessarily change that much. That's his legacy in the sport. So with that being said, it's not all bad. If you're looking at it as a bad thing and you're bitching and moaning, if you're bitching and moaning now about Gervonta Davis and Lomachenko, but you weren't bitching and moaning in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, then I don't really want to hear it. You're a dishonest, disingenuous boxing fan, and you need to just shut up and learn the sport of boxing and have better memory and just be more intellectually honest. That's really where I'm coming from, and it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing, because now the young guys, the young prime guys who have been getting all this hype for years, i.e. Gervonta, i.e. Shakur, there's a beautiful opportunity if the teams involved, the Leonard Ellerbys and the whoever Shakur signs with and the fighters themselves, if they can just get over their own egos, get them contracts right, get the money right, get the contracts right, make sure Tank is being compensated what he deserves for being one of boxing's best knockout punchers. Make sure Shakur is being compensated for being one of the most skillful fighters and the hardest fighters hitting the sport. 3-division champion. Make sure he's compensated and sign for the fight. Make it at the MGM Grand, and give the boxing fans something special. Give them something to remember. Not Gervonta Davis fighting a solid B-level fight like Frank Marlon. We don't want to see no more of that. Not Shakur Stevenson fighting, Edwin De Los Santos. No more of these guys against B-level guys. We want to see some of those legacy fights. We want to see that Tommy Hearns versus Hagler. We want to see that Duran versus Leonard 1. We want to see legacy defining fights, because it's just been so many years of not giving the boxing fans what they want. And mind you, I was just having a conversation with this because the Jake Paul Mike Perry card is on, and I was gonna watch it on the Zone, but then we found out it was $85 for pay-per-view. The boxing public gets treated like garbage because we're expected to support the sport, which, mind you, many of us do support the sport, and many of us will have no problem forking over our hard-earned money to support great fights. But we're expected to support all these different promotional entities that just put garbage fights on, or subpar fights on, or just okay fights on. And we're supposed to fork over $85, $80, and we're talking about once every other month, 2 months, But then we're not being considered in the fact that we want to see certain fights that have been marinating for years. Get to business. You can't price gouge the boxing fans year after year after year, and then continue to expect them to support pay-per-view fights that really and truthfully are not pay-per-view worthy. So I'm gonna leave it at that. It's not a bad thing that Lomachenko isn't fighting Gervonta Davis. It's quite a good thing if they do what they're supposed to do, which is make Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson next at the MGM Grand for the boxing fans and for the legacy of the youngins at the lightweight division. So leave your comments down below. If you agree with me, cool. If not, that's cool too. I'm letting y'all know the truth. But yeah, like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. I'm at the Boxing Hall of Fame out here in Canastota, New York. And for more great boxing content just like this video, make sure you click and subscribe right over here.